feel like I've exhausted all the ways there are to save and I just can't cut my budget any more. What do I do?
If you don't know us, I'm Larry.
And I'm Hope.
And we're from Under the Median, where every week we bring you videos on practical frugality.
Now, the words you just heard me utter in the beginning of this video were from an email that I just received last week from a viewer. Now, whether you're cutting back because prices are rising so rapidly that you're trying to figure out how in the world you're going to keep up, or if you're saving money because you're going really, really hard after a financial goal. Let's say that it's paying off debt, which is a really, really good goal in this economy.
It is.
Or you're getting ready for retirement, or maybe you're just saving for that emergency fund, that 3 to 6 month emergency fund. No matter the reason that you're saving money, if you're cutting back, this is the video for you. We're going to share some ways that we personally have cut our budget when we looked at our budget and thought, there's just not a whole lot of meat on the bone there. There's not a lot of ways that we can save. We have successfully used all of these tips. And we want you to make sure that you stick with us, because in this video, we'll reveal one of the number one things you absolutely must be sure that you're doing if you're looking to cut your budget back. And most people miss this step.
The first thing that you want to do is reevaluate all of your expenses. That means taking a close look at everything you're doing with money that's going out and making sure, do you really have to put that money in that area, and do you have to use that much of it?
Here's the number one loophole that people create for themselves when it comes to this step. They refuse to look at the small expenses because they convince themselves it's just a small amount of money. Really doesn't matter.
Right.
But the truth is, all of those small expenses, they could be adding up to a lot of money, and that could be what's keeping you from reaching your goals.
Let's give you a couple of examples. Do you need to eat out that much? We all enjoy eating out. It's nice. It's relaxing. You don't have to make anything. It's easy to do.
You don't have to do the dishes. That's probably the most important one.
Oh my gosh, yes. So this is an area that needs to be really evaluated. Another example is your cable package if you're hooked up to cable. We know a lot of people, in fact, Hope's mom, who's hooked up to cable, pays more than $200 a month for her cable. That's a lot of money for entertainment. Can you get on some free subscription services? There's a lot of streaming services that if you don't mind watching some commercials, you can get on for free. And some are very low cost. There are so many options available today that you don't have to put that much money into your entertainment.
Here's something else that this step also includes: looking really hard at your subscriptions. We mentioned cable, which at its core, of course, is a subscription. But there are a lot of different ways that we spend our money every month on subscriptions. And a lot of those subscriptions don't come due every month. They're quarterly, semi-annually, or annually. And that tends to be why we also miss them when we're doing this step on our budget. So we would encourage you to get out your bank statements for the last year, comb through those, and look for those subscriptions and when they renew, and determine, are you really using the subscription, or can you cut it down or cut it out completely?
What's kind of funny is I mentioned this to Hope, and I asked her, do you have any subscription services that you're not using? And she said, yes, there is one. And it happens to be an annual payment plan. So it's real easy to overlook those, and that's why they do them. So you'll sign up, pay for a year, and then that's it. They're on for a year with you.
Now, if you need some ideas of where you can cut back, you need to grab a copy of our free guide to cutting expenses. In this guide, we go through all of the major areas that we cut back when we were saving to pay cash for this house. I give you step-by-step instructions and also checklists for each area. I mentioned it's free, and there's going to be a link in the description of the video.
If you're getting some benefit out of this video, don't forget to like it. And if you're not a member, subscribe. We would love to have you as part of our frugal family.
Second thing you want to do after you've looked at all of your expenses and said, what can I really cut back? What can I cut out? Here's the next step. This is something that I think we invented.
It could be.
And the first time we ever did it was when we decided that we were going to save money to move out of our old home. That is the 10% challenge. The 10% challenge started because I looked at Larry and said, there's not a lot of meat on the bone there in our budget. There just isn't a lot to cut. And he said, I want you to go through it, and we are going to deliberately look at each budget category and find ways that we can cut each category back by just 10%. Why 10%? Because it's very doable and it's not a great big scary number, right? We're not asking you to cut it out completely. We're just asking you to find ways you can cut it back. And that is exactly the process that we went through in order to find several $100s that were hidden in our budget that we didn't even realize that they were there.
That strategy made it possible for us to get on board and get to really saving, because we thought we were backed up into a wall, but we weren't.
Unless you think that the 10% challenge is going to take a whole lot of your time, we periodically still do it, and it takes about 20 minutes. In fact, we set a timer for 20 minutes, and then we start dialoguing and figuring out all the different ways. And you'll wind up at the end of 20 minutes with a list of ways that you can look into in order to cut your expenses back by 10%.
Look for savings opportunities. One of the first things that we looked at was the holdings from my paycheck, and these were the tax holdings. We were having too much taken out. Now, granted, it looks really nice at the end of the year to get that big refund back from the government. You don't get any interest payments on that money. So you really are losing money by doing that. You're better off reducing the amount you have taken out of your paycheck, putting that into your budget to be used or put into savings where you can actually earn interest on it.
Here's another place that we looked for savings opportunities. We began watching Facebook groups that were designed to help people save a lot of money, say at CVS Pharmacy. At that time, you could get a lot of cash back when you went for the sales at CVS Pharmacy. There's also a lot of current Facebook pages that focus deliberately on ways that you can save money. Look for those. We went for buy nothing groups in our area. People that were giving away things that they no longer wanted or needed. And that helped us to be able to get some of those items without having to purchase them independently on our own. Before we move on, we really want to make a short note here about some of these savings opportunities that are going to be available for people of a certain income. We have had so many viewers that say, I would qualify, but I just really feel like I need to leave that money for those who have less than I do. The people that proctor those programs have deliberately set the scale of the income that make you eligible for that program. Now, you have to understand when you take advantage of it, there's going to be some people with a little higher income that also opt into the program. There are going to be some with a little lower income than you that opt into the program. But if you qualify for the program, there is no shame in taking advantage of the program. Look for those opportunities, and if they fit your needs, then take advantage of them.
Get fresh eyes on your budget. And by doing this, maybe is getting a financial planner to take a look at everything you're doing with the amount of money that you're saving. Have them look it over very carefully and let them evaluate what you're doing. Sometimes they can see different things that you can do, different ways you can save, and maybe some additional things that you can put your savings into so you're actually saving money in the long run.
We did this. In fact, we still regularly do this. Every year we meet with our personal financial planner and he gets a copy of our budget, our goals, like everything. As you might imagine, I give him a lot more information.
A lot of information.
Than most of his other clients give him. Look, your financial planner is more than happy to go over your budget with you. I think a lot of people, especially if they have a financial planner, think, well, that's just for my investments, or I don't want to bother them with my budget. That's what they are there for.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Go ahead and send them a copy of our budget and have them look over it. And here's why I tell you this, because we did this. When we were saving for this house, we took our big fat file folder of financial stuff over to our financial planner, and he's like, could you show me just the numbers I really need to look at, because it was a big folder. And I showed him like our current savings plan, how much we were saving every month, where our money was going, our expenses, and he came up with three different scenarios that we had not yet considered. So it's important and it's okay to put that in front of a set of fresh eyes and say, what do you think?
You want to make sure that you're tracking your spending. You have to know exactly where your money is going. And the easiest thing for us to do is lose track of small amounts of money that we're spending because we think, oh, $5 here or $10 there doesn't amount to anything and it doesn't really affect our budget. But several of these items over a month-long period can add up to a big amount. You'd be surprised at how much tracking your spending can help you cut back on some of the ways that you're putting money into small expenses.
Here's an example of how we have done this, and this is a great tip for you, is that you can always open up a separate account. We just had to do this. This is why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
We felt like we really needed to open up a separate account to pay for unexpected dental and medical expenses because there's a certain amount that insurance just isn't going to cover.
Right.
And since his health savings account has gone
pretty much been
significantly
exhausted
down in the past 2 years since he's been retired, we needed to have a place to set it aside.
Yep.
We opened a separate savings account at our credit union and automated it. And that's the second tip I would give you. So don't be afraid to open a separate account if you need to track things separately. And that's so you won't touch it, right?
Yeah.
And then make sure that you automate it if you can and when you can. $300 goes automatically from our savings over to that special account every single month. So I can physically see immediately every month how much money is available for those extra dental and medical expenses.
It's amazing how much peace of mind this will give you, knowing that your expenses are going to be covered if you need them for medical costs. And since we have almost depleted the HSA account because of all the expenses that we had done in the last 18 months or so, we needed an additional way to save that money and replace that fund. And that's what we've actually done by doing this. Our financial planner helped us to get this set up as well.
Here's something else that people don't realize that they can do, and that is negotiate bills. There are a number of monthly bills that you have that you can negotiate down. We mentioned the cable package. If you have a big cable bill, see if you can negotiate it down to a much lower priced package that will still get you the channels that you feel like you need to watch every month. You can also negotiate down on car insurance and home insurance. Now, you may have to switch carriers in order to make that happen and to realize the savings. We have a broker, and that's something else people don't generally think of. We have an insurance broker that is associated with a huge number of different companies, and they will shop for us once a year if we call them and say, hey, can you shop around for me and see if you can find a little bit lower plan? If they don't find a plan that meets our needs and our comfort level as far as our budget is concerned, we're free to shop around on our own. But it is nice to have the advantage of a broker who's going to do some of the legwork for you.
Use the 30-day rule when you're purchasing a major item. And it doesn't have to be too major. I'm not talking about several $100s necessarily. But if you're going to purchase something, wait before you actually buy it. And that amount of interim time of waiting can tell you whether you really need that item or not. In the meantime, while you're waiting, you can do research. You can go in on the internet and look up and see, are you getting the best deal? Is it the best product for what you need it for? And sometimes by the end of those 30 days, you'll realize, I really don't need to purchase this at all, and you'll save that total amount.
Now, for those of you who are a little confused and thinking, you've always said a 48-hour waiting period. Yes, we have. And we're telling you to increase that 48-hour waiting period whenever you can to 30 days. Because remember, we're talking specifically to those of you who are looking for ways that you can find more money in your budget. This is one of those ways, and it truly does work.
Now, granted, there might be some item you need to replace that you need before the 30-day period, and that's okay. We're talking about items you don't need really badly that you can wait on and take time with.
Here's the step that some people believe to be unnecessary, or they don't even know that they should be taking this step. Know your why. Now, on the surface, this seems really obvious, right? Well, it's because my income is here and expenses have gone here. We get that. That is the cause. That's not the effect. When you're looking at your why, I think you're really looking more at the effect. prices are rising. How is that affecting your ability to function on a month-to-month basis? How is it making you feel? What is the end result that you want to feel? What is the transformation you want to have take place from the act of cutting your expenses? Is it that you're going to be able to sleep better at night?
Yeah.
Is it that you're going to be able to pay off debt? And as we mentioned, in this economy, you need to pay off debt. Is it that you're going to be able to finally plan for that retirement? What is your end goal, and what is it that you feel like you are willing to take these steps for in order to reach? That's your why. Your why will keep you moving forward when all of a sudden it feels like these steps aren't working, or your savings rate has slowed down, or the prices go up. Once again, that could be next week, right? So when those things happen, this planning allows you to be able to prepare and not panic when those things happen. Because you know why? You have built your savings muscles. You have realized that you do not have to be a victim, but you can look at a situation and figure out, I am smart, I am capable, I can figure this out, I can make changes, and I can save money. And that's the position that we really, really want you to be able to be in. That's your why.
Knowing the why gives you a motivational force behind what you're doing. It impacts you in a way that causes you to stay with that plan and not deviate from it.
Now, if you're really wanting to learn some new frugal habits, they're going to help you grow that bank account and that savings amount really quickly every month. There are 10 different things that you can do. These are great frugal habits. We do them all the time. We did a video on it. It's right over there. Go take a look.